Hey everyone, I am here with Dr. Prachi Sharma, who is the Assistant Director of the Student Counseling Center here at UT Dallas. Dr. Sharma, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
Well, we appreciate it. So I just have a few questions. I talked a little bit about the Counseling Center in the lead up to this, but really want to hear from you and get some of your expertise for our incoming first generation students and their families. So the first question that I have is, could you talk a little bit about the services that are offered by the Student Counseling Center here at UT Dallas?
Absolutely. Thank you, Derek, so much for inviting me. And it's just such a pleasure to speak to all of you through this virtual format. So yes, we certainly sort of acknowledge and honor that in the last year and a half, we all have sort of gone through a lot of changes, a lot of grief and loss. It has been challenging time for many of us to adjust to this new pandemic life. And now we are again sort of going through another transition of going back to campus and offering in-person classes. So just wanted to share a little bit about our services. So we have been open since the day one. We have continued to offer our mental health services through the virtual format, and we will continue to do so as we go into fall. So all of our services would be available and accessible through Microsoft Teams, because that's the platform that we use. And what the feedback we've gotten from most students is that it's been really easy and accessible to most of our students. Also, it kind of takes care of health and safety in mind as well, so you don't feel like you're exposed to somebody else, and you don't have to worry about finicky masks and things like that. So we will continue to offer virtual services. So within that, just to tell you a little bit about us, we are basically the center that provides mental health services for all enrolled students. And as long as you're taking even one credit class here, you're eligible for our services, and they're completely free and confidential. So what that really means is that you are actually not having to pay any extra fee to access our services. And by confidentiality, what I really mean is that everything that we will be talking about in the counseling center stays there. Only exceptions is around like serious risks to yourself or others, or abuse or neglect. So those are just the few exceptions. Otherwise, we keep everything within our center. So we do have, apart from therapy services, which include individual therapy and couples therapy, we also offer wonderful groups. Our groups program is pretty robust. And within that, we also offer identity-based support group. So again, a great place for our students who might be underrepresented or come from marginalized backgrounds, have sort of like a peer network around them. And we offer these groups throughout the semester. We also have workshops that we offer, and workshop title sort of depends on semester to semester, sometimes anxiety, sometimes depression. And other ones, we have psychiatric services. So if you're wondering or have ever thought about or currently take any medications, you can meet with our psychiatry team. We also do assessments around eating disorders, substance use. We do WPATH assessments, which is for our transgender students who are considering transitioning. So lots of different services, and you can find all of that up-to-date information on our website by just going to UTD /counseling, and also we have a pretty robust presence also on our social media platforms. So you can find a lot of that up-to-date information also on our Instagram page as well as Facebook.
Awesome. And I want to emphasize to the folks watching, in addition to an abundance of resources that are available to our first generation students, the abundance of services, you talk about friendly atmosphere and just supportive atmosphere. The UTD Student Counseling Center is one of the most open, friendly, warm places on campus. So if you need anything, definitely check out the Student Counseling Center. We have heard nothing but wonderful things, and everything is so supportive, because this journey that you are about to go on, of course, it's going to have its challenges, which is exactly why the folks at the Student Counseling Center are there for you and are prepared. So thank you so much for going into that, Dr. Sharma. Really, really appreciate it. My next question has to do with our biggest supporters, our families. So I'm curious to get your thoughts on how our families can support our first generation students as they go through this journey. How can they support them like on an emotional level and in other ways, in your opinion?
That's an excellent question, Derek. And I think a lot of our work around mental health involves families because, they're sort of part of this educational journey that first gen students are on. If you're a first time student, you're going to perhaps need some support from your families. And particularly now, given that we've gone through so many transitions and going through another transition of in person classes, this could be a time where families can play a very pivotal role in success of their student. So one thing that, a few things that I could kind of recommend that, we've heard from parents really helps them support their student is to validate the feelings. So it's pretty normal. Some of us have had to go back to offices. For students, it could be maybe the first time they're sort of entering back in in-person classes after a long time. And for some of us, it is a big change because we are still in the middle of a pandemic. So please, if you can, just validate that if there's some anxiety and stress around going back to campus and attending in-person classes, it's pretty normal reaction to any kind of big change to feel that level of stress. You can also support your student by sort of encouraging them to connect with campus resources. We have some wonderful student organizations and a lot of student support services, such as the Counseling Center. So definitely encourage them, check in on your student, ask them how they're doing with their mental health, and encourage them to connect with our center. And just to give a little plug, we do offer a first gen support group for our students. So then that's just like a very special place that we have, offer virtually just for students who are first gen and attending UTD for the first time. So again, we do have resources and services. So it just helps your student get into a new routine, because all of this is what it's done is really disrupted a lot of our routines. So definitely encourage them to get connected, build a social network around them, get engaged with campus so that they can get this full sense of being a college student. Also, in another way that you can support the new routine could be to give them some support around their studies. So just if you can physically create a space, or even in the routine create a space, so that the adjustment from going from completely like not having any in-person classes to having in-person classes, or maybe some students might still be taking some hybrid version, you're kind of really sort of supporting that new transition, setting up a new routine, supporting their studies, and you can kind of really see our students sort of thrive in that environment. The more structure that they get, the more routine that they set for themselves, the more successful they would be.
That is fantastic. Thank you so much. I recall specifically when I was a freshman at UT Dallas 10 years ago, I did not get the grade that I thought that I was going to get on an exam. And my mother, who I hope is watching now, came to me and she was like, "Have you ever taken this class before? Have you ever been in college before this?" And I was like, "No, I haven't." And then she said to me, "Okay, so of course there's going to be a little bit of a learning curve, but this is progress. Keep going." And that meant so much to me. So that's why we really emphasize the importance of families throughout this journey. Now, we've alluded to and talked a lot about the return to campus. We're coming back in the fall. And with that, there may come a little bit of anxieties or other feelings associated with returning back to campus and seeing everybody, probably seeing more people together than you've seen a year and a half. So if you have any thoughts on how students, particularly our first generation students, can manage that and what support is available.
Absolutely. I think, Derek, that's such an important thing. I'm just thinking about students sort of coming back after a really long time. The anxiety and stress around it is pretty normal. And I would just emphasize that and validate that for all of our students coming back, particularly our first gen students, because this is going to be a very novel environment to enter back in with as many, like I think our enrollment numbers are around 26,000 and up. So there's going to be a lot of students back on campus and a lot of faculty and staff, and all of a sudden you're kind of learning to adjust and navigate your way around a campus, that too in the middle of a pandemic with safety precautions and measures in place. So it's absolutely normal reaction to a pretty sort of ever-changing guidance and kind of very transitional phase that we are all in. So just kind of, really being very kind to yourself, that it may take a little bit of time to adjust to all of these new changes. So really kind of acknowledging that for yourself, validating that for yourself, being very kind to yourself that these are some of the new changes. And if at a point when you're sort of really noticing that this is affecting the way you are as a student, or it's starting to sort of become unmanageable or affecting your functioning, absolutely come and seek support at the Student Counseling Center. That's exactly what we're here on campus for. And I always tell students, no problem is too small or too big. So come and see us. I'm particularly thinking about our students who are dealing with identity-based stress and trauma. This has been very traumatic here with increase in xenophobia, police brutality, racism. All of these effects can sort of amplify when you're sort of back on campus and now you're dealing with lots of people around you. So absolutely, like, seek mental health services. That's what we are here for. Another tip that I would like to give to our students would be to talk to your professors and mentors. Like, that's exactly what they're here for. Don't hesitate to ask for help. And the sooner you do it, the more in a position you would be to get that support. And campus community is really there to support you in your academic journey. That's all of our roles here on campus. So some of the offices that I could plug in, you can absolutely try a gender center. They do wonderful programming around supporting our students. We have academic success center, the accessibility center. So all of these resources are actually on campus to support you. We have your rack. So if you wanted to kind of go back to focusing more so on your physical health and engaging in some exercising, again, you have access to these services. Let your professors know if you're struggling. Share that right away. That could also just sort of help you manage some anxiety and stress that could come later on in the semester if you feel like you're not being able to catch up to your academic demands. So that for sure. And also, this might be a good time as you're prepping to go back to college to learn some healthy coping skills. And first way to kind of always start that is to kind of find a new routine for yourself. Look at the calendar of your classes, get a good sense of like where you need to be, what buildings do you need to be in, and what's sort of expected if you have your syllabi with you. Get sort of your sleep routine set, your meal time set, commuting time sets, just so that you have a little bit of more predictability in your day-to-day routine as you go back to college. Also finding healthy coping skills, and that could include something as simple as taking a walk every day, or engaging in your hobbies, or socializing. There are many different ways. Figure out what helps you de-stress. For some people, it could be listening to music, playing guitar. For some people, it could be meeting with friends. So figure out what it is that helps you kind of de-stress and manage your anxiety a little bit. And then certainly, if it is feeling unmanageable, reach out to the Student Counseling Center.
Wonderful. That is such great advice. I really appreciate you taking the time to share that with our incoming first generation students and our families. Thank you so much, Dr. Sharma. We really appreciate it. And audience, you have seen a friendly face ready to support you via the Student Counseling Center here at UT Dallas. Thank you so very much for joining us. And I look forward to collaborating with you as we get into the school year.
Thank you so much, and welcome to UTD. We're so excited to have you.
Before you go, hit that subscribe button, because this is just the beginning. We are just getting started here on the First Generation Comics YouTube channel, and we can't wait to share more. So hit that subscribe button, click on the bell to enable notifications, and we will see you here on campus. Have a great day, everybody.